Good morning, Hammers fans. I hope you're all well. My name is Nick, and this is Claret and Booze. Welcome to my daily ramble. We're still going to be doing West Ham shows throughout the summer as news breaks, of which, look, most of us are all hoping does happen. But we're going to be touching on what we're going to be doing over the summer. I'll talk to you about that in a bit. Should be quite fun, actually. As always, if you are new to the channel and you like what you see, please please subscribe. And again, to all of you, if you enjoy the show, please drop a like on the video. Okay, right. The dust has settled from the weekend. Things seem to have calmed down sort of substantially in relation to West Ham. We're all waiting to see what happens with David Moyes and the club. The club have come out vehemently, they're publicly backed him and said they're going to stick with him. Again, I'm saying you take that with a pinch of salt. We've had kind of inside information that the club have approached the likes of Tuchel and the likes of Pochettino, and the rumour is that they've been knocked back. So what I believe is the case is that West Ham are publicly backing David Moyes on the off chance that they can't get anybody else in. If they do get the man in, if Pochettino, if we reveal Poch, it'll be a case of, well, we was going to stick with David Moyes, but when an opportunity like this presents itself, what are you supposed to do? So that's kind of the line I think that we're gonna take. But there are so many managers out there, and I think as time wears on, we all know they had a big board meeting on Saturday night. We know that the likes of David Gold is fond of David Moyes, as is David Sullivan, probably because he acts as a bit of a firewall between the board and the fans. They're used to fans hating on them, whereas at the moment a lot of that frustration is being directed towards the manager. That will switch, though. It will happen, because if the board don't act and they don't do what they should do, then the fans will switch their attention back to Monster Munch Hands and David Gold. It will happen, 100%. I don't really want that to happen, because I want them to be proactive just for once. Just for once. We're in a really good situation. We are, even though we're a point above the drop zone, we're only 16 games into the season. We've got a fantastic group of players. We just need freshening up. We do. David Moyes, it's just not going to work for him. I'm not telepathic. I'm not an expert, but I've kind of, what he did worked when he came in. I've said it so many times. He's a problem fixer. He came in, he implemented his defensive style, made us solid, and we was very successful for a couple of years. But that was only ever going to have a shelf life. It got found out towards the tail end of last year, or the last half of last season. He's continued trying to do the same thing this year. He's just not learning by his mistakes, and he's not going to learn by his mistakes, because that's him. That's his style. That's what he believes in as a manager. You can't expect him to turn into Pep Guardiola overnight. He's not going to be able to coach this team in the way that we want to coach them. We're too one-dimensional. We're leaking goals all over the place. We can't create meaningful chances. I know people keep on pointing to stats, the amount of shots we've had on goal. Well, there's chances and there's shots on goal, and then there's chances. How many chances did Skamaka get in the game the other day? Really, he didn't. You might argue that Paqueta had a few chances to do a little bit better, but look, at the end of the day, we're not creating meaningful chances from open play. We're too one-dimensional. We're very easy to play against, incredibly easy to play against. It takes zero preparation as well, because we all know what Moyes is going to do, so the opposition manager knows what Moyes is going to do. It's just too samey. It's not going to change. And as we said on the show the other day, this is a really unique situation that we're in at the moment with this 6-week window, and it would just be ridiculous to waste it. It would. This is perfect for a new manager to come in, get used to the players, implement their philosophy, and then hopefully we can fire out of the blocks when we come back and we face off against Arsenal. I don't know what happened now. We can fire away straight away against Arsenal. So I hope that they don't do that. I hope that it is all posturing from them. Well, look, it's not posturing. They will stick with David Moyes if they can't find anyone else. I think that's the long and short of it. So that is what I believe will happen. I'm really hopeful that we are going to find another manager. There are so many out there. There are, like I say, you do have the likes of Thomas Frank. You do have the likes of look. Even hear me out. If it got to the point where we couldn't attract anyone else, and only the likes of Sean Dyche was looking at West Ham and would come over, that, in my opinion, that is an upgrade on David Moyes. And it's a risk worth taking. And everyone's going to throw their toys out the pram when I say that. I'm not saying that he's my choice, by the way. But Sean Dyche is not a failed manager. He's not damaged goods. He just couldn't continue performing the same miracle season after season with Burnley, with no resources. And all he did at Burnley was he did what he had to do to survive. He operated with zero resources. He had nothing. He had no money, and he had to make him defensively strong. He had to make him hard to beat in order for them to survive. That's what he did. He's a very firm character. The rumour is that we've got some mercenaries in our camp at the moment. He's the type of character that would come in and he would take no prisoners. He'd flush them out straight away. Don't forget, he used to play with two up front for Burnley as well. Nobody knows what Sean Dyche would do at a club with resources, with better players. We don't know. I think he's a type of manager that probably deserves a chance, like Eddie Howe did. I know on paper they're different styles of manager, but again, you can't really typecast Sean Dyche to being that way, because I think he had to be that way. Otherwise, Burnley would have come up, they'd have gone down, they'd have come up, they'd have gone down. I don't know. Like I say, I don't think he's not my first choice. But if it was Sean Dyche now or stick with David Moyes, I'm going Sean Dyche now, 100%. I would do, because at the very least, he would turn things around, would get that new manager bounce, and he would keep us safe this season. If it wasn't working, we could look again in the summer. But at the moment, West Ham are on a slide. We're on a downward spiral. People keep on making references to Brendan Rodgers and how Leicester fans were calling for his head 4 weeks ago when they were rooted to the bottom of the table. But now look at them. Well, yeah, now look at them. Brendan Rodgers rectified the issue defensively, and they're now flying up the table. They're winning games. If Brendan Rodgers had have come into this and he was still bottom and weren't winning, his job would have been under threat. They'd have got rid of him. They're not going to get relegated out of some misplaced loyalty for a manager. Why would anyone do that? I just don't understand it. So, and I don't think West Ham will do it if they can help it. I don't think they will. I think it's not just Gold, Sullivan and Brady on the board now. I think we've got like 12 board members. Kretinsky is all about business. Anything that looks like it's harming his investment, he ain't going to be happy about at all. He's got no loyalty to David Moyes. He's just going to want his investment to keep on growing, and he's going to be looking at this situation thinking anyone that's got half an idea about football from the boardroom will be looking at this, especially with the likes of Nottingham Forest winning on the final day before the break as well against Palace. They'll be looking at that thinking, Jesus, this is dangerous. And it is dangerous because nobody is too good to go down in that bottom half. They're just not. It's really competitive. Every team's gone out. They've spent money. Every team is probably going to have a budget to spend more money in January. Lots of teams have gone out and replaced their manager, and they've got that kind of immediate bounce. You can just point to Aston Villa for that. You've got Wolves that have gone out and got Lopetegui. They're struggling at the moment. They won't be struggling for long. They will fly up. It will happen because he'll have money to spend in January as well. So West Ham have got to move on. And going back to the type of managers that I would like to see, look, if the rumours are correct, and that is that Pochettino and Tuchel have turned us down, I can understand it. And I believe it as well. I do think that we probably have approached them. But it doesn't mean that we stop there. We haven't got to. We can move on. Like I say, Bielsa for me would be a tremendous appointment. He would perhaps not a manager for life, but he is the type of guy that would come in and lay new foundations for us and a new way of playing. And now it looks like we're moving more towards that director of football model, like Brighton, which I think we are. I think you got like Rob Newman and you got Mark Noble that are going to be running things behind the scene, bringing players in. I think that's what happened in the summer. By the way, I don't credit David Moyes with these signings. I think there's just a new structure that's been put in place, and it's a right thing to do. One man shouldn't have full control of everything. They just shouldn't. But what that means is that all of that backroom infrastructure and everything else is there. You look at Brighton, Potter went, everyone would probably think, oh, God, they're going to fall to pieces. Well, they didn't. They just went out and got another manager in a similar mould to Potter, and they've just carried on. So Bielsa would be a brilliant choice because he would come in and he would change the way that we play drastically. We'd be pressing all over the pitch. We'd be playing a beautiful passing game. And like I say, we might not win anything playing that way for a little while, but it would be exciting. The fans would be on board with it. And with the investment that we're making in the team, which is something that Leeds didn't do, we will get there. We would get there that way. And like I say, lay good foundations for another man to come in. Another guy that really interests me, similar mould to Bielsa, but a younger model, is Marcelo Gallardo of River Plate. He's River Plate's most successful manager. He's world renowned as a top class coach, like really is. Plays beautiful football, expressive football. Same sort of game as Bielsa, pressing all over the pitch, high intensity. Like Bielsa, he's non-English speaking, so it would be an ambitious move. But I think he's kind of Gallardo to West Ham is the type of manager. I think we're only ever going to get one chance to get him because he's going to go somewhere else and he's going to do really, really well. I don't think it's that much of a risk. Like I say, he's been there for 8 years. He's won 14 titles. People are going to say, "Oh, it's the Argentinian league." He's a class manager. He is, and I just think it would be a really ambitious move. And again, a younger model to Bielsa. You would imagine that coming from Argentina. He's not going to turn his nose up at West Ham to sort of play on a big stage. We're in a European competition. It would be brilliant for him. He's already come out and broke River Plate's fans' hearts by saying that he's not going to renew his contract in December. So he is going to be moving on at the end of their season. So that is going to happen. So there is a manager that is ready to go. A risk, yes, but aren't they all risks, Sticking with David Moyes is a risk. If you look at the trend of the last year, if it continues that way, we're getting relegated. So you would have to place your faith in the fact that some miracle is going to happen over the summer period, that the dressing room is going to be repaired. Because again, the rumour is that David Moyes has lost everyone apart from Declan Rice. Everyone. There's also rumours coming out about Benny. Don't know how true it is because these could be leaked from the club in order sort of by way of sort of defending Benny, but the rumour is that Benny is a toxic character. A bit of an arrogant bloke, thinks he's messy, and he's just not in any way got on with David Moyes from day one. But my answer to that would be, well, there's certain players that you've got to manage differently. David Moyes has been having a public spat with him. He's been trying to basically put his foot on his head to bring him to sort of, he's almost been trying to crush him. Maybe that is what it is. Maybe he is full of himself and he is kind of he has a lot of belief in his own ability, and maybe David Moyes doesn't like that. Maybe David Moyes has been trying to sort of kick him into touch, but he's clearly not the right type of guy to be doing that. But the rumour is that Benny is one of those players that is poisonous for David Moyes in this environment because it's not working, and that's why we got rid of Haller really, really quickly because David Moyes can't tolerate people that don't toe the party line. And David Moyes won't change for anyone. He just won't. You fit in with David Moyes or you're out. There's no flexibility there, none. I mean, you'd like to think what someone like Harry Redknapp would do with Ben Rama. Could you imagine? Because Redknapp was an amazing manager. He could get the best out of everyone. Didn't matter who it was. So yeah, look, it's going to be really, really interesting. Let me know what your thoughts are in terms of what manager you would want. If we have gone in for Poch and Tuchel, which are the reports that I've had, it doesn't mean that it's over and it's done and dusted. They've said that they've been turned down. But look, at the end of the day, they're going to want back into management. So maybe they're putting feelers out for something else, or Pochettino might be holding out for the Tottenham job if Conte's going to go. I can't see Conte going. I've got to be honest. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But I hope they don't let too much of this 6-week period expire because it's lucky. It's a really unique thing that we have to take advantage of. If they leave it until after this 6-week period, and they're not going to back him because the rumour is he's got 3 games. So if he loses against Arsenal, which we will, Brentford, which we will, and Leeds, which is away, then he's gone. I mean, I hate the 3-game thing anyway. It's ridiculous because it's just going to keep on resetting itself, you know. I keep on saying the same thing. If you give someone enough time, they'll get 1 game right. You know, that stock David Moyes formation will work against a team. So it's obscene. It's got to be an accumulation of bad results. Apparently, this has been the worst Premier League start. I haven't confirmed this. I've just seen it on another channel. That was a headline. But apparently, it's the worst league start since 1976. Even if it isn't, and there's a couple of other seasons in there, this is hands down one of the worst starts that I've seen. People say we've been unlucky. I say bollocks. We're a bad team at the moment. Good players, really good players, but we're a bad team. This transition that people are talking about, letting players bed in, that isn't going to happen because the new players are not improving. They're going backwards. Look at Scamacca, look at Paqueta, look at Kehrer, look at Emerson, who isn't trusted to play. You know, Cornet, who was called sick note before we signed him, has stayed true to his word, that's to his label. He's just completely gone missing. They're not even giving an update on Cornet. So that's a lot of money that we spent in the summer, and it doesn't feel at the moment like we've spent it particularly well. I'm not criticising the players. I'm not criticising Paqueta and Scamacca. But again, if we sign these players for David Moyes, they're the wrong players. They're the wrong players. It was never going to work. So maybe there's some criticism of the board, but the fact of the matter is maybe not, because I think that they identified that we needed to play a different way. So just because these players that we've brought in are fit for a different system that we're aiming towards, it looks like David Moyes can't deliver the style that's required for us to actually transition. Like I've said before, we're not waiting for the players to transition. We're waiting for David Moyes to transition, which basically means transforming into a different manager. It was never going to happen, and it isn't going to happen after the break either. We are going to get absolutely destroyed by Arsenal. We are. We're going to get destroyed. The atmosphere is going to be horrific. Brentford, they're a high-intensity team. I don't fancy our chances against them. We never do well against them. And then Leeds, you never know what you're going to get. We're going to go away to them. But the way that they're playing at the minute, I don't fancy us against them either. So, but that's the one that we probably could win. But then what? We beat Leeds, then he's safe. The 3-game thing starts again. And when do they actually act? Because I've had some people say, oh no, you've got to give him until, maybe 12 games before the end of the season. If we're still in the relegation zone, then you've got to act. Fuck it, are you serious? I mean, people laud David Moyes for what he did when he came in and he saved us. He saved us. We was in 17th place. We weren't even in the relegation zone. But people are willing to stick with David Moyes until he's left us in a far more harrowing and difficult situation than what he came into. And then they think it's just going to be like that. Another manager can just come in. There's still 12 games left. Look at the Great Escape. That's enough time to get the right manager in. Well, if you can get the right manager in, then get him in now. It doesn't make sense, and it is a shame. It's a shame for David Moyes that it's gone this way, but it was always going to. It was always going to, and I just hope that West Ham don't suffer as a result. Because could you imagine if we did get relegated? It would put us back 10 years. There'd be a fire sale at the club. All the players would be moved on. It would be catastrophic. So to even risk our Premier League status is insane. And sticking with David Moyes at the minute is a risk. So, as I've said at the start of the video, they are going out. They are talking to other managers. It's all going to be dependent on whether or not they can get somebody else in. But they need to get a move on, and maybe they need to sort of narrow their expectations a little bit, because there are plenty of managers out there that could move us on from David Moyes. Lots of them, So yeah, I'm not too concerned about who comes in next. To be honest, I'm not getting too hung up on that. For me, it's problem one: get rid of the initial problem that we've got, which is David Moyes. And like I say, whichever manager comes in, I think that we'll get that bounce anyway. They're like I say, David Moyes has lost the changing room. It's more or less been confirmed that is the case. So that removes all of that animosity between the players and the manager. And you would hope off the back of that we would get a little lift. So regardless who comes in, we would be fine. Even if we just stick with a caretaker manager for a while, that would be a preference of mine over sticking with David Moyes. But it would just be such a waste to not bring that manager in now because of this 6-week break. This is a pre-season, So anyway, I don't want to keep on repeating myself. But yeah, let me know who your choice would be if you was going to bring a new manager in anyway in the chat. Let me know what you think about Gallardo. Have a little read up of him. Marcelo Gallardo, River Plate. Really, really kind of exciting and possible because he's moving on in December, or he's not renewing his contract anyway. So yeah, that's my thoughts on West Ham, and I think Gary and John are going to be on this week as well to sort of give their take. But just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we're doing at Claret and Booze over the World Cup, we're kind of we're going to be giving the same coverage for England as what we do for for West Ham. So it's going to be the same thing. There's going to be match previews. There's going to be we'll do some watch-alongs. We'll do some watch-alongs. We'll do the post-match phone-ins as well, which have been quite funny. If anyone didn't watch the one from Saturday night, that was probably our best phone-in show. There were some cracking calls there. I kind of had a bit of a meltdown as well because I couldn't cope with the volume of calls that was coming in. It was ridiculous. I think I went through the phone book afterwards, and there was almost 30 callers there in the list, all different numbers, unique numbers. So I am sorry we couldn't take everyone's call, and I'm sorry I had a meltdown as well. Can't promise it won't happen again. I don't cope very well under pressure. All right. So we're going to be with you all throughout the World Cup as well. So you're going to be getting a Claret and Booze take on England. So it's going to go from Moyes out to Southgate out pretty quickly, I'm sure. No, I won't do that. I'm going to be a beacon of light and positivity throughout the tournament. That's what I'm going to be. And we're all going to be doing it. So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please drop a like on it for us because it tells YouTube to share it far and wide. And look, if you are new around here, please subscribe. We're trying to get those numbers up. It really, really helps us. All right. Thank you very much. And speak to you in a few days. Go you ads.